Hello, everybody, and welcome to my show, Living Well with Dr. Shelia. Just a reminder, the show can be seen on many streaming networks. We are on Amazon Fire TV, Google TV, and we're also on Chromecast, and we're also doing audio, not to mention Roku TV. So thank you so much for joining me. I just want to give a quick introduction. So I am a physical therapist. I am a health coach and a speaker. And I love doing shows like this for general health, well-being, mental, physical, and spiritual. So you'll see that my topics go from any kind of topic that will pertain to that. And today we're going to talk a little bit about mental health and relationships, but not mental health as in psychology, etc. But we're going to talk about relationships. So today I have my guest. Her name is Michelle Jacoby, and her expertise is all things love, relationships, and dating. She is the owner of DC Matchmaking. So I am going to bring Michelle onto the screen and we're going to greet her. Hey, Michelle.
Hi, I'm so excited to be with you, Dr. Shelia.
Thank you so much. So I just wanted to start out by asking you first a question. I want to first see, is there anything else that you want to add to your intro? Because I did a really short intro, but I know that you do so many things. I know you have written a book.
Yes.
I know you have, other endeavors, and I don't want our audience to miss any information about what you do. So can you just fill us in a little bit more on what you do, and then we will get started with the interview.
Sure, thank you. So I started DC Matchmaking, which is a small boutique matchmaking company in the Washington, DC area. And I started that 12 years ago. And I am a matchmaker, and I'm also a dating coach. I'm a matchmaker for both men and women, and I'm a dating coach for women. I'm also the co-founder of an organization called the Matchmakers Alliance. That's an industry organization. We have about 360 matchmakers now. I started that back in 2012, and I'm just very involved in the matchmaking industry and very passionate about helping awesome single people find love. So that's what I do.
That is so interesting. So what is the difference? And this is my curiosity, and I'm sure it is some of the people in the audience, they have the same question. So what is the difference between a matchmaker and a dating coach?
That's a great question. Okay, so a matchmaker is someone who gets to know their client really well, gets to understand who you are on the deepest level. I want to learn about your background. I want to learn about your career, your hobbies. I want to learn all about you. And then I'm going to go into my database of singles. I have about, 6,000 or 7,000 people in my database.
Wow.
And I go in there and I search for specific criteria that I've agreed on with my client. And then we match them. So it is an introduction service where we're creating opportunities for two people to match based on who they are and what the criteria are that they're looking for. So, and we do feedback afterwards, but then, we step away and the couple, if they become a couple, do their thing, right? But coaching is completely different. Coaching isn't just an introduction service. Coaching is really helping singles understand the best way to get what they want. Helping them to better understand how they present themselves, what they're looking for, what their boundaries are. When I work with women, we talk about how men think and operate, how to have strong boundaries, what to do when there are red flags, when to stay, when to go. I mean, every single aspect of dating we cover. So matchmaking is an introduction service, and coaching is being supported throughout the entire process of finding love, if that makes sense.
It makes a lot of sense. That actually was a really good explanation. Thank you, because I think that cleared that up for many people, including me.
Yeah, and one more thing I'll say is that
yeah,
some matchmakers are also dating coaches. There are people who are just coaches, people who are just matchmakers. In my opinion, if you want to be a good matchmaker, you also have to coach your clients.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
From the explanation that you gave, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. So who should hire a dating coach versus a matchmaker?
Yeah, so so different matchmaking companies take on different demographics. There are some matchmaking companies that only work with men. There are some matchmaking companies that specialize in working with an older demographic. I think if you are a less experienced dater, like let's say you just got out of a marriage and you haven't dated in a really long time and you would like to have help navigating modern dating, or let's say your picker is off and you keep picking the wrong person, or perhaps you're going on dates and you're really putting time and effort in and you're not having success, I tend to think that that's a person who would really benefit from coaching. The kind of person who would benefit a lot from matchmaking is someone who is a really savvy dater, but is just super busy and wants someone to vet matches for them, interview matches for them, and set up dates for them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, good. Yeah, I got it. I got it. Okay, so, well, if you're looking for, I'll ask a two-part question then. So if you're looking for a matchmaker,
Mm-hmm.
how do you know which one to pick? What questions should you ask them? And just how do you navigate through which one will be a good fit for you?
That's such an important question because matchmaking has become really popular and a lot of people are looking to hire a matchmaker, and it's really easy to sell hope. It's easy, honestly, for a matchmaker who's not ethical to sell their services and not deliver. So asking the right questions when you're thinking about hiring a matchmaker is super important. So one of the questions that you need to ask is, how many people, well, first of all, who's going to be my matchmaker? Is it you, the person I'm talking with, or is it going to be someone else? And then you also need to ask, how many people is my matchmaker serving? Is it me and 9 other people, or is it me and 199 other people? That's an important question. Are you based in my area, and do you actually have clients in my area, or are you just selling me a service and then going to encourage me to date somewhere else? Do you have people just like me who've worked with you in the past who would be willing to talk with me about the experience of working with you? There are so many questions that you could ask. You really just want to know, here's another one. What are the criteria that we're going to agree on? You're going to do a search for me. Are you open to putting that down in writing to make sure that we really understand each other and you can introduce me to the kind of people that I want to meet? How many introductions am I going to have? Is that going to be in my contract? So you just want to be really savvy when you're hiring a matchmaker and make sure that it's someone who has good reviews online, who has references you can speak with, and just, and also doesn't have so many clients that they can't really take good care of you.
So what do you, and this is just a question I'm asking, what is too many clients for one person?
Yeah, well, there are some services that have one matchmaker taking care of 200 people. And if you had to match 200 people, you couldn't intimately know them. You couldn't really spend time with them. You would just be making matches really quickly. So a small boutique matchmaking company like mine, we limit the amount of people that we work with so that we can really get to know them, spend time with them, spend time talking about the dates after they go on dates. When I work with my coaching clients, I'm working with them intimately in a small group. So it's a very personal endeavor looking for love. And so I think I don't think it can be scaled. And I think when companies get too big, the quality of the service isn't as good. That's how I feel about that one. I like to keep things small. I've been tempted to scale, but I want to know my clients. I spent an hour and a half having lunch with one of my clients yesterday because I could.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Question though, are all of your clients in the same area that your business is in?
Good question. So up until recently, most of my clients were in the DC area, although I have worked with clients in other areas. But I also coach women, and I do that in a group coaching program, and I have clients from all over the world in that program. So that's really fun.
And does your coaching program, is it in conjunction with matchmaking, or do you not have to do the matchmaking and you can still do the coaching?
No. So my coach, I know it's a little confusing.
Yeah, well, that's just why I'm asking the questions. I'm like, because this is really interesting, but I'm just picking your brain, trying to figure out. Yeah.
I know it's so I'm so used to doing it. I forget what people do and don't know.
Yeah.
All right. So remind me the question. I'm going to make sure I get it right.
The question was the people that you coach, do they have to be in your matchmaking program?
No.
Like, do they go together?
Thank you. They're completely different programs. So when I work with a matchmaking client, there's a certain amount of coaching that I may have to do because I'm getting feedback after the dates. So if my client goes on a date and it doesn't go well, I'm going to investigate, find out why, and I may need to coach my client. But when I work as a coach with women, it's a completely different program. I'm working with women in a group, and I am teaching them every aspect of dating, and I'm not matching them. So they're two completely different programs.
Okay, yeah. But I'm going to assume that someone can be in both, or no?
I guess so. I mean, you could be.
Yeah, just curious.
I don't think there would be a need to be, but yeah, I mean.
Oh, you don't? Oh, I see. Okay.
No, because I mean, so if you wanted to go into my coaching program and learn all about every aspect of dating and be a savvy dater and get ready to date and have all kinds of smart strategies and really understand how men operate and have really strong boundaries and have all of that ready and then work with a matchmaker and then start going on dates, that would be awesome. That's a lot of support, but you know what? Finding love is important.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's one of the reasons why I thought this would be a really interesting show, because finding love is important for a lot of people.
Yeah.
It really is. And a lot of women, and probably men too. And I've spoken to men who this is an issue, that they can't find love, and it's very frustrating.
Yeah,
so,
I mean, you would think in this modern day and age, right, when we have all these dating apps and all these websites, that it would be so easy to find a partner, but it's actually in many ways gotten more difficult. Mm-hmm. There's this like illusion of choice. So everybody's running around trying to find greener grass instead of really focusing on getting to know the person that they're with. And, I had my share of difficult relationships, and I had my share of years dating. So I understand how frustrating it can be. And, I figured it out for myself. Then I started teaching my clients, and I've never looked back. And I really do believe also that the difficult experiences we have really teach us. And I think that my difficult experiences in love really brought me to this place where I'm able to help my clients and have a really satisfying career that I enjoy.
So, and I'm going to go back to the kind of beginning, not the beginning of whatever, but the first question that this question has to be, I won't say aggravating, but it's just like when people always ask me, why did you become a physical therapist? And I'm like,
yeah, I get this all the time.
I was going to say, yeah, so do I. You of course, it's a really good question, but even in my mind, I'm like, oh okay, let's go through this. But I'm going to ask you this, and you can just put it in the back of your mind, say, oh, okay, but don't say it out loud.
No, so, you can say it out loud. I don't mind.
How did you become, or why, even how or why did you become a matchmaker? You kind of told us, just in this last statement.
Yeah, but it's not. It's not the kind of job when you're a little girl you say, when I grow up, I'm going to be a matchmaker and a dating coach. That doesn't really happen. So when I got divorced at 35. I had 3 little kids, and when I was in my early 40s, I just wanted to meet someone and was trying in many different ways and having fun dating. But I got real serious about, it's time for me to find my partner. And also my parents, I love them. They just cared about me so much. They suggested hiring a matchmaker. I hadn't even thought of it. And this was in 2000. Yeah, this was in 2008. So in 2008, at my parents' suggestion, I started talking to people and asking them, do you know of anyone who's used a matchmaker in the DC area? And I got about half a dozen people who had stories to tell me about their experience, and they were all really negative. People who had been promised, someone was promised, they had an agreement that she was Jewish and wanted to date someone Jewish. The first match she had was the son of a preacher. I mean, things like that, where they're lovely people, but they're not the right fit because someone wasn't listening, right? So I thought about it at that time, and I was like, you know what, if there's no one doing a good job in the DC area, and I had matched my best friend with her fiance just for fun, introduced her. I said match, but I guess at that time I just set them up, right? And I was always introducing people, and I am honestly a compulsive connector. I love to connect people. So I was thinking about matchmaking. I said, if no one's doing a good job and I'm already doing it for my friends, maybe I can make a career out of this. And I Googled that and found a USA Today article, this was 13 years ago, that talked about matchmaking as a career. And so I just decided to put up a website and try it. I had a client within 3 weeks. She ended up in a relationship on the 3rd try. My next client ended up in a relationship on the 5th try. And I've never looked back. I've just gotten really, I like to say I get really lucky, but I think I'm getting help from the universe.
Right.
But what makes a good matchmaker is someone who can really, really listen to what you want. And if what you want is going to keep you from finding it, we have to be very kind and say to you, I think you might have a blind spot. Let's talk about being realistic, and let's talk about focusing on what really will impact your happiness and make someone a great partner. So part of being a good matchmaker is choosing my clients very carefully. Same thing with a dating coach, is really choosing people who are coachable. But over the years, it's been an incredibly satisfying career. There are children in the world who exist because I matched their parents. So yeah, I can literally talk about matchmaking and dating coaching all day long. Dr. Shelia, you just ask me questions and I will answer you, because love is the most important thing. And you're talking about mental health. Having a partner who's got your back, who loves you, having an easy relationship, it's a beautiful thing that leads to, really complementing your happiness as opposed to depleting it. And being in the wrong relationship is very unhealthy.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes,
So that's my answer. I think I was looking for a matchmaker for me, but I was having fun dating, and I just decided to give it a try. And then I just kept matching people, and I was like, damn, I'm good at this. So,
so that's supposed to do what you're good at. Yeah. Your parents, I just have to say, now your parents are pretty cool. 13 years ago saying, why don't you get a matchmaker?
Not only were they suggesting it, they offered to pay for it. They're such good parents. So I wasn't going to hire someone. I mean, it's an investment to work with a matchmaker. I wasn't going to hire someone unless I felt really confident that they could do a really beautiful job. I don't even know if I would have allowed my parents to pay for it back then, but couldn't find a good one. So I decided to be a good one.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because that's not even something I know my parents that wouldn't even cross their mind.
Oh, they love me and I love them. They're wonderful parents.
Oh gosh. Well, progressive, because it's because they're progressive to even think about that. Because that's really,
what's really interesting. I have a lot of South Asian clients. I think because in that culture, there's so much arranged marriages, and I have found for a lot of my American my South Asian American-born clients who have more traditional parents, matchmaking is a really beautiful fit between an arranged marriage and regular dating. So I find that the Indian community feels really comfortable with matchmaking also. I think shows like, The Millionaire Matchmaker and Indian Matchmaking, people know what matchmaking is. I don't know that I think sometimes people don't understand what dating coaching is, because they'll say, well, I'm not socially awkward, I don't need a dating coach. And I'm like, that is not what dating coaching is. Dating coaching is about having really smart strategies so you can date efficiently, hone in on the right person, understand all the different ways to date effectively, and then just find the person and meet the person and impress the person and vet the person that you want and end up with the person that's really going to enhance your life. So coaching is about getting out there and meeting people. It's just, I kind of say like matchmaking is I'm giving you the organic vegetables, and coaching is I'm teaching you how to grow the organic vegetables.
Wow.
I don't like to say fish because I'm vegan, so I'm just going to say the vegetables. But I'm teaching you how to be the gardener of your own love life instead of me just giving you,
Oh, I like that. The gardener of your own love life.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that expression. I love it. And actually, I am very impressed with the dating coach work that you do.
Thank you.
I think that's really, especially for so many And you don't have to be young, but I still think about the younger generation because they, a lot of them are really struggling with trying to find their mate,
Yeah.
or even struggling with, there's so many other things, self-worth, there's just so many other things. So coaching would be such an ideal thing for them to go to maybe stop the dating the wrong person, which we're going to get into and we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
But
as a coach, I've worked with kids in college. I have friends who've asked me to talk with their daughters, and I've also worked with widowers in their 70s. So I've worked with single women of every age, and I really do think that the strategies that I teach are universal and will help, a 19-year-old who's just starting to date, or someone who's looking for their soulmate at 60 and starting over, So yeah, so I'm a true believer that in, look, I have a coach. I have a business coach. I'm a coach who believes in coaching. I mentioned earlier, I wrote a book. I hired a coach to help me because I had tried on my own. I needed strategies, and I needed to understand how to do it. And so people think that dating is intuitive and they should just be able to do it, but it's not. In fact, I really believe that sometimes we're sort of pre-programmed to choose the wrong person, based on how we grew up. And I know I sure chose the wrong person for a certain part of my life until I figured it out. So I would love for people to learn through coaching instead of through their own heartbreak and wasted time.
Right. Yeah. I agree. Wow. So let's see. How has, if I know the pandemic, it's not over, but we're coming out of it actually. But
life is starting to feel normal again a little bit.
I know. And it's almost like it was a flip of the switch here in America. I will say, because we are global. Here in America, it was like a flip of the switch. That
like the last couple of weeks, it's really been like, I think because we reached a certain level of vaccination, and I think people are starting to feel really safe about being near people.
Yeah. And once they opened up, even opened up what we can and cannot do for gatherings, I think that was it. That was it. People just were out, and it's great to see. It's like, oh my gosh, so quick. But we did have the pandemic. So did you notice, and of course there had to be some changes, but how was dating different during that pandemic time, and even probably now, because we're just really coming out of it?
Yeah, you know what? It's been an incredibly interesting, 14 or so months.
Yeah.
In the beginning of the pandemic, I just felt so nervous about my business, as did many business owners in many different industries. I was just like, how is this going to be? How is this going to work? I introduce people for a living. And in the beginning, people put their contracts on hold and they were really nervous, but people are resilient and creative. And my clients started meeting via Zoom. And I had some clients who fell in love over Zoom. I had one client who was here in the DC area, and the woman he was talking to was across the country. I found that something interesting happened when people couldn't be physically together. They really connected emotionally and spent a lot of time talking instead of feeling this sort of nervous rush to be physical. So it slowed down in some ways the dating process, but also speeded up because people are available. It's like, I like you, we don't have to wait a week. You're not on a business trip. Let's just talk again tomorrow. So that was really interesting in the beginning. And then last summer, people started to go out on more dates, but they were distance dates. So people were doing things like going on a hike, having an outdoor picnic. And then, oh my gosh, over the winter in DC, it's, people who lived in colder climates. I mean, dating was really challenging. You ain't gonna put on a parka, freeze your what off and go on a date with someone. It was just hard. So people were doing a lot of Zoom dating. And then now that things are opening up, I would say 90% of my clients are now meeting in person, but I'm leaving that up to them because I want to do what makes them feel safe and comfortable. But I do think this is interesting. On the dating apps and even in my service, people are asking if you're vaccinated. And it's sort of becoming a little bit of a deal breaker for some singles if you're not vaccinated. They want to know why you're not vaccinated. They want to know, if you're safe to be near. So it's been a very interesting year. I will tell you one more thing that's happened that I think is beautiful. People have really spent the last year thinking about what's important to me. Life slowed down. There was no noise, and we had to really sit with, like, am I happy? Do I have the things in my life that have I created the life that I want? And I think people are much more focused on finding one loving relationship now instead of dating 4 people at a time and texting everybody and running out on one date Monday, one date Wednesday, one date Friday. My clients are getting into relationships much more quickly. They're really focused on finding love, more so than I've ever seen before. So I actually think it's a beautiful time to date. And now that the weather's warmer and COVID is not as much of a threat, it's just like there's so much optimism with dating, and people are just, their mindsets are really in the right place. So I'm very excited about what I'm seeing now.
That is, yeah, I'm excited then that people are excited about dating and getting out there and finding quality relationships. And yeah, your comment of that people have done a lot of introspection or et cetera during COVID because we've been in is really poignant, because a lot of people have, because you've actually seen even even more relationships gone, but even more breakups of relationships.
Oh my gosh. So I think whatever you had was magnified, right? If you were in a relationship and it was a good relationship, like my husband and I, we had a beautiful year together. I mean, it was a difficult year, but we became much closer because we spent so much time together. I have another friend who got divorced. She just did not want to spend any more time with her husband. It was not a good relationship, and this was the catalyst that she needed to make a change in her life, which ultimately will be a good thing for her and for him. And it's interesting. I've spoken with some singles who felt so incredibly isolated and lonely this year. And I've talked with other people who really, it didn't affect them. They're very comfortable being by themselves and alone. Someone actually corrected me a few months ago because I said something about singles being lonely. And she's like, don't assume all singles are lonely. I wasn't lonely. But I personally am somebody who I need connection with people. And I think if I hadn't had my parents nearby, they're local, and my husband in the house with me and my child, like if I were a single person and didn't have family in the area, that would have been really, really tough. So I just, I will say plenty of tears on Zoom this year from people who were struggling and really wanting to find a connection with someone that they could share themselves with,
I can imagine, because so many people live alone, so many people live alone.
I mean, it's been an especially hard time for elderly. It's been a hard time for young people. I have a 15-year-old, he had a hard year, and it's been very, very difficult for singles who felt isolated and alone. So I'm really hoping that people make an effort now to reconnect. And it's hard because you're kind of out of the habit, right?
Yeah, some of my clients have told me that, because they've been in, especially the younger ones, actually. the younger they are, the more they've told me this, that they've been out of the habit of going out. So they're almost nervous, to go out and to go back into the social scene, even social, going out to dinner. No, I'm not talking about clubs or anything, but just as simple as going out to dinner with friends.
Yeah.
And, and it produces a little bit of anxiety, because all of us have been in for over a year.
We've all had a collective traumatic experience that impacted every single one of us differently.
But, I love this question. So, where is the best place to find quality, commitment-minded single men?
Oh my gosh. I get this question all the time. And I think women think that matchmakers have a vault where the really good ones are, that only we know the combination to, right? Quality, commitment-minded men are absolutely everywhere. They have to go to the dry cleaner just like you do. They need to go to the grocery store. They go to Starbucks. They're everywhere. Put your phone down. Take your phone, put it down. Take your earbuds out, look up and smile, and connect. There are wonderful commitment-minded men on dating apps, and on online dating sites. And if you're not having a good experience on those sites, then you don't have the right strategy. If you're not seeing quality men on those sites, you don't have the right strategy. You're not doing it right, because quality men are literally everywhere. I met my husband at a restaurant. I met someone I dated in the past at a bookstore. I met someone else at a grocery store. I met another boyfriend I had online. They're literally everywhere. Does that answer your question, Dr. Sheila? They're everywhere.
Yeah, that does answer the question. And I know they're everywhere. I guess. And I actually love what you said just when you first answered the question, which is put your phone down.
Put your phone down.
Yes. And take the earplugs out of your ear.
You know what? I was driving in DC last year, and I passed a bus stop. I think I wrote about this in my book. I passed a bus stop, and there must have been like a dozen people standing. You know, bus stops are like it's an enclosure. It's small. People were shoulder to shoulder. Now, I'm chatty. One of the reasons why I met all these men in public places, because I talk to strangers. I have fun with people. But I looked over as I was driving past this bus stop. Every single person was looking down at their phone. 12 people, shoulder to shoulder. Nobody was smiling. No one was chatting. No one was, saying hello. That to me is just sad, because even if you just have a quick conversation with a stranger, you can brighten their day. You could make a friend. It's just, there's none of that. It's very sad. It's like everyone's got their blinders on and they're going to their destination, or they got their, look, even my kid sometimes, he has his headset on. I'll have a whole conversation with him and he won't even respond. I'm like, are you even listening?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think it has to do with just making the decision to connect with the people around you. And a smile is a huge invitation. If you're smiling when you're talking, when you're just standing there, when you're listening, smiling, you're probably one of the only ones. Look around. And did you notice I'm wearing this color? I think wearing color, I've studied response to color. I'm certified as a body language expert. Color is inviting. It's warm. It makes you seem more friendly and happier and more open. So if you're wearing a colorful shirt and you're smiling, you're pretty much the only one. So if you were at a happy hour and that was the case, or I think, I probably got approached by this guy at Barnes and Noble because I was smiling. I look like, if you're going to come talk to me, I'm going to be nice to you, as opposed to having the resting what face where I just look grouchy, right? So the advice would be make eye contact, smile, and if you feel like it, wear something vibrant, but just put your phone down, take out the earbuds, and connect with the people around you. Really, truly, honest to God, are wonderful men everywhere. If you're not seeing them, it's either because you don't believe they're out there or you're just not looking, because we find what we believe. I remember years ago when I was pregnant, all of a sudden everyone was pregnant. I bought a Hyundai, everybody had a Hyundai. Like, you see what you're focused on. If you truly believe that there are no great guys out there, then it's true for you. Sometimes people will call me and they'll say, there are just no wonderful men. You always say that there are wonderful men. And I say to them that you're absolutely right. That's so true. And then they kind of look at me and they're like, wait, I'm talking to you because you're a dating coach. And I'm like, yeah, well, if you truly think that there are no quality men, then that's true for you.
Right.
I can't help you if that's your belief system.
Right.
Because you're dating from a place of scarcity, and that's the reality you're creating for yourself.
Yeah.
Because that song, It's Raining Men? True song. True story. If you know how to, that's why you might need a dating coach.
Right. Now, do you match men and women?
Yeah. So I would say about 80% of my clients are men. My matchmaking clients are men.
Oh.
Yeah, that's by design. And I'll tell you why. Okay. So I don't know if your listeners are more men or more women, but I don't want to offend. But we know that men don't stop and ask for directions when they're lost, right?
Yes, we do know that.
The same thing when they want to solve a problem. We women will go online and look for a matchmaker and join a database. Like, I have a database of 7,000 people. Of those 7,000 people in my database, about 90% are women, right? Because they're trying to solve a problem. They're going to share their information with me. Not as often. It's much more rare for a man to reach out to me and say, can I join your database to meet your clients? Right? So I choose to work with more men because it's very easy for me to go into my database. I have so many great women in there. But if a woman wants to work with me, I may have to go to networking events. I may have to spend some time on social media or out in the world to try to find quality men to put them in my database. And I think that the truth of the matter is most matchmakers, I'll say, have 60 to 70% female clients. But I do it the other way around because I really want to serve everyone I take on as a matchmaking client well. And so I don't want to promise you something and not deliver. So I'll take on like 2 or 3 women a year because I know that I'm going to take the time to find the quality men they want, because they are everywhere. It just takes time and effort, right? So so as a matchmaker, most of my clients are men, but I do work with women. And then as a dating coach, I work exclusively with women. I love dating women. I'm sorry, I don't love dating women. I'm sorry. I love, but there's nothing wrong with that.
No,
I love coaching women and teaching them how to date strategically and helping them find love. I love going to weddings. I cry more than their moms at the wedding sometimes because I know what they've been through. My coaching clients come to me sometimes after having been in really difficult, heartbreaking relationships, or they've been dating and putting so much time and effort in and getting absolutely nowhere and feeling just so frustrated. So that when they're successful and they find their partner and I get to go to the wedding, you better believe I'm bringing a box of tissues because I'm so moved that, that this is happening right now, that I helped her get here. It's beautiful. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is such a great conversation. This is such good information because I didn't know. I knew basic. And and I've been married for a while too, so it's not something that crossed my mind. But I do have children who,
You have daughters?
I have a daughter. Yeah.
I will send her my book.
Yeah. Yes. We can talk about that. Yeah, we'll talk about that. That would be a good idea.
I would be happy to do.
Thank you. Yeah. So we're gonna take just a quick 30-second commercial break, and we will be back with Michelle and discuss more about matchmaking, dating, coaching, etc.
CG Meals helps you save time with our health-conscious fresh food kits delivered straight to your door. Fast, fresh food ready to eat in just 8 to 10 minutes. Now you can focus on what's really important. Order your meal kit today at cgmeals.com.
And we are back. So I did, and I have to say, every time I see that commercial, it makes me hungry.
I was just gonna. I didn't know if I was allowed to say something. I was watching that and I was like, "Damn, I could really use some food right now."
I know. Because I'm looking at it, I'm like, well, when we finish this, it will be time for me to go in the kitchen and get a little something to eat.
That looked really good, didn't it?
It did. It looked really good and really fast to make. So the one thing I did when you were talking the last time before the commercial, I just wanted to ask a quick question. How long do you usually work with people before they find the mate of their dreams?
So as a matchmaker, we work with our clients for 6 months. But my goal is to work with them for like 2 weeks and find their partner. And that happened 3 times this year. First introduction was their partner. So they sign a 6-month contract, but my goal is to get them matched really quickly so they can put their contract on hold and then I can go on vacation. That's my goal. And then as a coach, we also have a program where we, this is something I haven't mentioned, where we manage people's online profiles. So we actually will create a profile for them and manage it for them. That's a 3 or a 6 month process. And then as a coach, I have an 8-week program where I teach women everything they need to know from absolutely A to Z with regard to dating, so that when they decide to go out into the world and date, they feel so empowered and confident. And then I do work with women long-term as a coach also. I have a private group, and that's a year-long program. So yeah, there's pretty much something for everyone. And when I talk with potential clients, we really try to figure out what would be the most effective. I don't want to sell you one package when this is what's really going to help you. I want to listen carefully and find out exactly what you need, and then do my very, very best to make sure you're well taken care of and you get what you need so you can find your partner and I can come to your wedding.
Wow.
Although if it's in Australia, you know, you can just invite me on Zoom.
I know, really. Yeah, for sure. So do you have, because so many people are doing, especially, well, everybody, I was going to say younger people, but that's not even the case. It's almost everybody. Do you have any online dating tips?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, let's hear some of your online dating
Dr. Shelia, there's not a single question about dating that I don't have an answer to. I mean, I could go on all day. I love this topic. So online dating, I think one of the biggest mistakes people make is just making assumptions. If I had a nickel for every time someone made an assumption about some guy whose profile that she read, and they were wrong, I would have just a boatload full of nickels. So just because someone took a car selfie does not mean he's a loser. Just because someone took a picture with his shirt off at the gym doesn't mean he's only out for sex. Just because someone didn't have a picture on their profile doesn't mean he's ugly or married. Like, we don't know who these people are. And you have to understand that when people date online, sometimes they're incredible, amazing, commitment-minded people, but they're bad at online dating. So stop making assumptions. A lot of women think that men should reach out only. Look, if you see a man that you like online, write him a message. A lot of people spend months and months corresponding without ever meeting. I think that you should meet someone rather quickly. Once you've sort of vetted them and you have a sense that they're a nice, normal person, I would get on a date as quickly as possible. Pictures, people post the worst pictures ever. As I just was saying, the car selfie, the bathroom selfie, the picture of you from your neck up and nothing else. The picture of you looking serious or angry. I think it's really, really important to take the time to have exceptional online dating photos, wearing clothes that are colorful and figure flattering for women. For men, iron your shirt. Take a picture that has a nice background. Write your profile essay with, keep this thought in mind. The person who's reading my profile essay is thinking, what's in it for me? So for instance, you shouldn't write, I want to meet someone who makes me laugh. Make the person reading the profile laugh if you're funny. Don't write about what you don't want. Keep it positive. And don't use tons of adjectives. I see this all the time. I'm adventurous, I'm this, I'm that, and the other thing. If you're adventurous, instead of writing I'm adventurous, tell a story about some adventure you went on and make it really, it doesn't have to be long, but it could be about the time you went ziplining in Costa Rica and were screaming woo-hoo the whole way down when, so there's so many different tips I could give you, but I think that's a good start is like, don't make assumptions. Don't be afraid to reach out, keep your profile positive. I guess that's a good start.
Those are really good tips, actually.
Yeah, but making assumptions is really a problem. Making assumptions is I always say, assume the best. Assume this person is awesome and just really bad at dating. Yeah,
because there are some people who are bad at dating. Yeah.
Oh my God, there's not just some people. There's a hell of a lot of people who are bad at dating. Yeah. Because I've been watching people date for 12 years without it. And it's interesting because sometimes as a coach, I'll just give them a small strategy and that little strategy will change everything. Wow. Literally everything. I have a male client right now, and after his, at the end of his dates, he always feels like he's supposed to do a goodnight kiss, and it just wasn't working. It was a little too soon. So all I said to him, I got feedback from her. All I said to him is, let go of the pressure to do the goodnight kiss. And he was so much more relaxed on the date. Things went really well. He seemed much less forward and sort of, just kind of more,
it's 1 o'clock.
I don't know, non-committal about how things ended up. He just wanted to be with her and have fun. And now he's having much better experience with the women he's meeting. So little things sometimes make a big difference.
Yeah, because that is really a little thing. And probably took a lot of pressure off for him. Oh
my God, there's so many little things. Like I had a client years ago I forget his name. He was such a nice guy, and women didn't want to go on second dates with him. And I needed to figure out why. And after listening to feedback from about 3 different ladies, I figured it out. When the check would come, he would immediately grab it, put his credit card in, and send it off. And then the woman would think he wanted to finish the date up because he was in a rush.
Oh.
It was so, like, it took a while to figure this out. So what we changed was I said to him, when the check comes, just put it to the side where she can't reach it. Make it very clear that you'll take care of it. And you can sit at that table for another hour if you're having fun. But it was such a little thing, and I had to figure it out. And that's why feedback's very important. That's why a matchmaker who doesn't get feedback is really not doing his or her job the way they should.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we look for patterns. We look to find out, you know, what could you be doing differently so that you can be more successful.
Wow. Because those are really just small changes. I mean,
Well, here's another little story. So here's another little story. I had a client, a woman, beautiful, very successful, and I wanted to set her up on a date. And she wanted to go between business meetings to meet him for lunch. And I'm a big believer that femininity is your superpower, and that you need to shut off work and get into like a more feminine vibe before you go on a date. Mm-hmm. And I said to her, I really would rather you come home, get out of your business suit, you know, take a little break and then go on a date. And she insisted. So she went on a date between meetings in her work clothes. She really, really liked the guy a lot. And because he was a great guy. Mm-hmm. And his response when he gave feedback was, she's beautiful, she's smart, I really liked her. I just wasn't feeling any chemistry. And then when I asked him more questions, he said, well, it sort of felt like I was on a work meeting. Mm-hmm. Guess what? Guess who went on dates in the evening from that point forward? She listened to me after that.
Oh, she did. Okay, good.
Yeah, so, I got her into a relationship, but she needed to understand that doing things the way you always do things doesn't get you a new result. You know, she was probably going to lunch dates between her business meetings for a year, and she wasn't connecting. And, you know, sitting down and having drinks and having this special time to be together that's apart from work. Dates are supposed to be special.
Right, right.
And when you're rushing between meetings, it doesn't feel special. No,
it does not. It doesn't. Do you find that most of your clients take your advice, or are they different? I ask that because of what, you know, the examples you gave us, like, oh, well, that's nice. They just said they'll do it. Okay. But,
you know what? So most of my clients, I won't take them on, especially my matchmaking. Well, my matchmaking and my coaching clients, I won't take them on unless they're coachable. And I really talk with them about that. I say, I'm gonna ask you to step outside of your comfort zone. I may tell you something, give you constructive feedback, but you have to know that my goal is to help you find what you want and be in a relationship and be happy. So I have no ulterior motive. One of the things that I do that's a little controversial that I do tell my female clients, and I tell my male clients the very same thing. Actually, I just told a client this last week. I don't want people having sex until they're in a relationship that's exclusive and committed. I think it's a very smart move for many, many different reasons. And every once in a while, I have a client who will break that rule. They always regret it. Mm-hmm. Always. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's a rule that has been broken. Mm-hmm. Well, yeah. Sometimes after a drink or two too many. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, you know, I have really good reasons for my rules. And I'm a very rule-based dating coach, actually. I don't like gray areas. I'm like, do this, it works. Don't do that, it doesn't work. And it makes working with me really easy because you know what you should do. Mm-hmm.
And it probably makes the process go faster. Well, you find your person faster.
I feel really confident. Like I would say like about 90% of my coaching clients find a relationship while they're working with me or soon after, because there's a really smart way to date. And if you understand those strategies, and you understand especially when to stop investing in the wrong person, because the fastest way to find the right person is to stop wasting time on the wrong person. Name of my book, Never Waste Time on the Wrong Man. Never waste time on the wrong man again. But it's true for men also. Never waste time on the wrong woman again. We spend months, we sometimes spend years investing in the wrong person. Mm-hmm. It's you know, I guess it's heartbreaking sometimes, because I've had clients who come to me when they're 42 and they always wanted to have children, but they spent 8 years with the wrong guy. That's heartbreaking, you know? So, you know, we learn from our experiences, and that's beautiful. I think things happen sometimes for us instead of to us. But if you can date with a smarter strategy and really understand how to get what you want, why wouldn't you do it that way?
Right. Well, why do you think women, and this can go to men too, I don't want to discard them, it's the same thing. Why do you think they stay in relationships that don't serve them well?
Such a good question. There's different answers. One of the answers is because when they were growing up, maybe they were in a home. I just talked to someone 2 days ago. She grew up in an abusive home environment, and being with someone who's angry and violent somehow subconsciously feels like she's being loved. That's what she experienced as a child. And even though intellectually she knew that wasn't healthy for her, she stayed way too long because it felt like being loved. You know, I know someone who had very critical parents. He ended up dating critical women. It just feels like you're normal, right? So there's a lot of personal work that you might need to do to get to a place where you can identify what's healthy for you and what isn't. And sometimes you have to sit with a healthy relationship for a while because it doesn't feel normal. I mean, my husband, I was used to dating avoidant men. I was used to dating men for whom sitting with intimacy consistently over time was uncomfortable, and so they would sabotage. My husband's very comfortable being intimate. He's very mushy. He'll cry at movies. He likes to talk about his feelings. That felt weird in the beginning.
But that's jackpot for women.
That was not really hot in the beginning. But you know what? I intellectually knew that's what I need. A man who can show up and communicate and be there for me. And so I sat with it until it started to be my new normal. And it was so, I think it was kind of addicted to the drama. And there's no drama. And it feels really comfortable. And that's the word I want people to go for when they're dating. Comfortable, right? I also think sometimes we stay in the wrong relationships because there are certain needs that are being served. Like I can think of one relationship that I was in, newly divorced. It felt so good to have companionship, and he had kids, and now we were this big family, and there were so many things that were wrong with the relationship. But you know, financially, I was kind of unsure, and he was doing great financially, so I felt more secure. The most important thing you can do before you can find the right person is to make sure you've created a life for yourself that you absolutely love, that you're genuinely happy from the inside out, that you have worked on your self-esteem, you have worked on your financial situation, you've worked on your friendships, your family relationships, everything. Because if something's lacking, you'll choose a partner to fill that void instead of choosing a partner who's really just a good fit for you, right? So like if you don't have a good relationship with your family and you meet a man or a woman who has a really close family and you love the way that feels, you might choose that situation, but that guy's not the right guy for you. So, so build a life that's beautiful and then go find your man or your woman.
Right. This has just been such a great conversation. But I really want to make sure that we have enough time for you to talk about your book.
Thank you.
I know you wrote a book. So can you?
I did.
Yes.
I have been wanting to write this book I wanted to write this book forever, and I finally did it. I think certain things about the pandemic were a blessing, and having the extra time was a blessing. And as I said, I got a coach. I think it's very important to have a coach when you're not able to accomplish something on your own. So I wrote a book. It's called Never Waste Time on the Wrong Man Again. I tell my story in here, and I tell the stories of my clients. And I promise you, I didn't use their real names, but the stories are so interesting and beautiful and helpful. And I know that the reader will see herself in those stories. And I teach women how to really identify what they want in a partner versus what they just, you know, what their preferences are, what they need. And we also talk about creating really strong boundaries. You know, I'm not going to date people who treat me like this. And if this is happening, how am I going to deal with that? And how am I going to advocate for myself? And how am I going to exit quickly if it's not the right person for me? I talk about just every aspect of dating in this book. It's a really transformational book. And as my sweet dad who read the book said, he's like, it's not just a book about dating. It's a book for everyone. It's a book about life. So even my husband said men should read it. So anyone who would really like to stop wasting time investing in the wrong people, really hone in on how to be in a healthy relationship and then date effectively, efficiently, and strategically, I would be happy actually to give away my book. I really want to help people. So there's a website. I tried to make it easy. It's michellesbook.com. Anyone who would like a free copy of my book, I would be very, very happy to send it to you.
Mm-hmm. Very nice. And hopefully we will get people to take you up on that offer.
Yeah, I love sending my book out because I know it's going to change a life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you know, what's interesting is almost everyone who's read my book has written back to me and said I gave it to someone else, or I shared it with someone else. That makes me feel really, really good.
Yeah, because that tells you the value, right? The value of what you have written, and how many people need the information that you're providing.
I wrote the book that I wish I had had when I was single. And I was getting advice from a friend. Don't take advice from your friends, especially your friends who aren't happily married. You know, I wish I took the wrong advice. I stayed in the wrong relationship. It was really, you talk about mental health. I was really not feeling happy. And so I wrote the book that I wish I had had at 40 years old. This book would have changed my life, and I needed it. So I wrote it for your listeners and for, you know, everyone looking for love, so that they can stop wasting time and really go out and find it.
Wonderful. Wow. Well, this is what happens when you have a guest that's so interesting.
Oh, thank you.
You run out of time a lot faster than you think you will. And we actually have run out of time. So I want to just go ahead and thank you, Michelle, for joining us today. This has really been very informative. It's been informative for me. I love the fact that you do help so many people to be able to find the person who they're supposed to be with, or who they're best suited for.
Yeah, life is beautiful, but it's even more beautiful when it's shared.
Yes. And when you have a very happy relationship.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Shelia. You asked me great questions, and I enjoyed my time with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for joining me. I'm just going to do this little outro and we will be done. But my goodness, thank you, Michelle. And don't forget to get Michelle's book, right? michellesbook.com.
With 2 L's. 2 L's.
2 L's.
2 L's, no apostrophe. michellesbook.com.
Yes, thank you. That's right. No apostrophe, because I was saying, is there an apostrophe? And she was kind enough to tell me there are no apostrophes. So I was like, okay. Okay, thank you. So yes, so remember there are no apostrophes. So that being said, I'm going to go on to the single screen, but I want to just take a minute to thank you all for joining us. Just remember that if I am a health coach also, so if you have any bladder leaks, because I specialize in helping women reduce and eliminate their bladder leaks. If you would like a copy of my book, because I did write a book, To Pee or Not to Pee, The Guide to Reducing and Eliminating Urinary Incontinence. If you want a free copy of my book, please go to pee or not to, the number 2.com. Again, thank you all so much for joining us, and I will see you again next week on Living Well with Dr. Shelia.